For those who have been indoctrinated in the climate change hoax, there are many reasons why you are just dead wrong. And even worse, you're being led to slaughter by a eugenics cult that has infiltrated our federal, state, and local governments.
When I asked Tanya Plibersek, was the Deputy Leader of the Labor Party and the potential Deputy Prime Minister, was carbon dioxide the big issue in relation to climate change? And she said yes. I then said, well, that being the case, what percentage of the atmosphere is made up of carbon dioxide? What percentage of the Earth's air is carbon dioxide?
Oh, I don't know.
But if carbon dioxide is 0.04% of the atmosphere, and human beings are responsible for 3% of that 0.04%, surely if a political party doesn't know the quantum of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, what the hell are we standing the economy on its head for? Demonising coal-fired power, driving everyone into renewable energy, which is not available, not reliable and not affordable, plonking us in electric cars, giving us nearly the dearest electricity in the world when we're rich in energy resources, exporting coal so that China and India and Japan can have cheap electricity, and we sit here swallowing this ideological rubbish, putting industry at risk, jobs at risk, and burying the economy.
So it is ultra important that we refuse to stop digging into the ruins and future of Lahaina, because it is the bellwether for the rest of the United States. Note, misleading social media posts have been circulating falsely asserting that the Hawaii Digital Government Summit, which is held in Honolulu each year, is aimed at transforming Maui into the first smart island. These claims are incorrect and do not align with the summit's annual focus. So what is the C40 City Group, and why would they distance themselves from these claims?
And so why did you decide to enter into a global pact?
I think that the goals that C40 has set for the world are really important goals if we're going to mitigate climate change.
According to their website, C40 City Climate Change Leadership Group is a group of 96 cities represented by mayors around the world, representing 1/12 of the world's population and 1/4 of the global economy, focused on fighting the climate crisis and driving urban action to reduce green gas emissions. End quote. Quietly plowing in the seeds of the UN Agenda 2030 with the aid of Silicon Valley towards a more equitable digitization of the workplace with exponential growth of a cloud-based government.
What we have to do as politicians is to almost be like teachers, work with the experts to explain, just like we do with the pandemic, explain climate change.
Well, they can't deny that Maui has been ground zero for smart city transformation for a long time by the state of Hawaii.
Maui's transportation department will be testing an all-electric bus.
As Hawaii makes its push to achieve 100% renewable energy by 2045, harnessing the wind on land has been controversial.
Between 2011 and 2016, NIDO headed a smart community project called Jump Smart Maui. Held on the island of Maui, Hawaii, a smart community was constructed by Hawaiian and Japanese stakeholders. NIDO explains smart community is a social system that integrates advanced environmental and energy technologies and provides citizens belonging to the community with a sustainable, safe, and secure society. Meanwhile, the EPA, with its notorious record of environmental sabotage, is scrubbing the crime scene. According to KITV4, right now, federal, state, and local officials remain in phase 1 of the cleanup process following the fire devastation. 9 teams with the EPA have been assigned by FEMA to search, remove, and dispose of hazardous materials found in structures impacted by the fires. It's no secret anymore. Contracts were signed to build high-rise condos and businesses in Lahaina. But you can't build in a historical district, and you certainly can't start a smart city in one.
All I've had since day one is $700. We are only being told, stand in this line, sign here. What are we signing? Who is it benefiting, us or America? That's what I want to know.
The historical city of Lahaina stood in the way of this globalist overreach. John Bound reporting.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. It's Doug Diamond here. We are doing another Diamond Report Live, and I'm on the road again. So, yeah, let's see here. It is 10:05 p.m. Central Time, although I am currently in the Eastern Time Zone. So it is 11:05 my time, so we will see how far we can go on the broadcast tonight. We'll plan to go a couple hours. We'll see how well it works. Got a lot going on, as you guys know. So, yeah, it's 10:05 p.m. on Sunday night, October the 1st. So, welcome. Glad you guys made it, and I've got quite a few things to go through here tonight as far as news items. Got a few videos, not too many, and we'll just see where it takes us. But yeah, how about that video with all those FOIA requests and getting things that they didn't even ask for? That's pretty unbelievable, actually. But yeah, the criminals are in charge. They're in charge of not only the government, but pretty much everything else. The U.S. is certainly a captured nation at this point. So let's take a look at a few of the articles that I found. We'll start with HalTurnerRadioShow.com, like I usually do. Several interesting things on here. I've got two pulled up at the moment. Covert intel, closest Putin advisor says, quote, nuke UK off the map to stop the Ukraine war and World War III. So, blow the UK off the map in order to prevent World War III. Interesting a bit of logic there, I think. One of the closest and most trusted advisors to Putin has formally told his boss that a, quote, massive use of nuclear weapons is necessary to actually, quote, prevent World War III and save humanity. He urges the complete destruction of the United Kingdom as a warning to others to stop. So I get it. You are demonstrating your might, demonstrating your muscle so that people will leave you alone. And, it remains to be seen as to if this happens or not, but I do find it very interesting. Obviously, this is a subscriber-only post. I read you everything that's public here. If you're a subscriber on Hal's website, feel free to take a look at that if you haven't already. I read through it, and it is very interesting, but you get the gist of it just by reading that little bit. And there's the targets that are listed here. It's showing 1 through 20, and it's basically all of the UK. So, and the way I understand how nukes work is that you could have these 20 target cities really covered by a missile or two. I don't think it would have to be 20 missiles. I think it's potentially 1 or 2 missiles with 10 to 20 warheads apiece, the way I understand it. But it is very interesting. I mean, hopefully it won't come to that. But you can see number 12 there, which is 2 6s, is right on London town. So yeah, probably directed right through the front door of Buckingham Palace, if you ask me. Maybe not, but we'll see. So yeah, that's one article I've got on Hal's website. The next one I've got here is, surprise, U.S. House passes 45-day stopgap funding bill, no Ukraine money. And I saw this and was a little bit surprised that McCarthy and his Rhino friends would go for this. But as always, there is a catch. So we'll take a look at that. What Hal's got written here is U.S. House Speaker McCarthy scored a shocking victory. I wouldn't quite take it that far, Hal, over the deep state Saturday by securing House passage of a 45-day stopgap bill to keep the government open and cut off funding for Ukraine. But again, there's always a catch. McCarthy's victory seemed almost impossible as recently as this morning amidst disagreements inside his own conference and a willingness among Democrats to shut down the government over Ukraine funding. Yet, as it became clear that momentum for a stopgap continued resolution, or CR, without Ukraine funding was building, panicked Democrats began utilizing delay tactics, including a long filibuster speech by Jeffries, and Rep. Bowman allegedly, no, it's not allegedly, he did it, pulled a fire alarm at the U.S. Capitol to delay the vote. You guys know about this? Total insanity. It's just like, what are these people, like 7th graders, or what's going on here? They pull the fire alarm to get out of taking the test? Really? Anyway, there's more info here. I'm not nearly as excited about this as Hal is, but when he does his radio show tomorrow night, I'm sure he will fill in the gaps here that this particular article doesn't really cover. So anyway, let's keep moving though. We've got lots of stuff to talk about, and one thing I pulled up here was this video. I can't really play it for you quite as well on this additional live stream software that I use, but I will make sure to include it in the Substack post that I do with all the links, and I may even be able to put it in the video afterwards. I don't know if you guys have seen this, but my first thought was, Zelensky and company are going to be so mad at all of this stuff that Ukraine's not going to get their funding. He's going to force all Americans to watch him play the piano with his ding-a-ling, which is literally what this video is. I would show it, but again, it's a little bit more difficult, more cumbersome on this particular live stream platform that I'm using tonight. Because once again, I didn't really mention it, but I am on the road. Well, I mentioned I'm in Eastern time zone. I guess you figured it out. But so we'll talk a little bit more about that as we progress through the evening. But yep, if you hadn't seen the video, it really does exist. He really did do it. Of course, it's all play acting, but you get the idea. So there is the little Nazi who is running things in Ukraine, supposedly. But you could argue that the point that he's probably a puppet too, like so many in power are. All right, so let's take a look at technocracy.news. This is a website I always like to mention some of the articles on. They always have some good things on here. Geofencing. You guys heard that term? That's something that I've known about for some time, just based on marketing materials, because marketing companies use geofencing. I don't know if you guys know about this. It says geofencing, how the government used cell phone data to try to drive Calvary Chapel out of business. This case is about technocratic overreach, collusion with government officials, and religious persecution. Then the church discovered that it was a victim of geofencing. Calvary Chapel of San Jose has been locked in a battle with Santa Clara County since the Great Panic of 2020, after heavy fines were leveled against them for refusing to not stop regular church services. Good for them. The church took their case to the California Supreme Court and won. So geofencing often begins with an innocent click. Smartphone apps ask if they can access location to improve service. You guys have seen that. You've all seen it. When users say yes, they often don't realize that the app that helps them drive or cook or pray are likely reselling their information to far-flung for-profit entities. This and other information detailing people's behaviors and preferences is valuable for businesses trying to target customers. The global location intelligence market was estimated at $16 billion last year, according to Grandview Research, which predicts that figure will grow to $51 billion by 2030. So, once again, a futuristic date. But suffice it to say, it is a big, big business. And the way I learned about it was with some companies that do marketing. They target using geofencing. They target certain cities. Maybe they want to run ads in just certain markets where people that enter a certain geofenced location. Think about a satellite footprint. They're taking this, literally drawing a circle around a section of a city or a section of some area, and they're fencing that in. And when your cell phone crosses that barrier and goes into that circle, it's now targeted with certain ads. So they're literally doing that. So what this article is talking about is how the government was using it in the case of going after this church who didn't shut down during the... So you can see how that might work. Anyway, the next technocracy.news article I have, these megalomaniac technocrats are on course to wreck Earth in outer space. Elon Musk could easily destroy the planet and outer space, but add others like him, such as Jeff Bezos and Richard Branson, and you have a recipe for total disaster. One onlooker. Gotta love lack of oversight that allows megalomaniacs to run the planet for everyone. So here's a video here all about Starlink. If you guys don't know much about Starlink, there's a little backstory here, I guess. A video of Musk's web of Starlink satellites has left onlookers stunned as scientists warn of their little-known risks to the night sky. There are at most around 9,000 stars visible to Earth's view of the sky, and around 5,000 Starlink satellites as of August. The orange dots represent Starlink satellites. According to new research, low-frequency radio waves are leaking into the sky and hurting scientists' ability to make astronomical observations. Skygazers fear that soon satellites will outnumber the amount of stars there are to see, according to comments made on Musk's X, on former Twitter. One onlooker called the video depressing before adding, literally in only a few years, they will outnumber the stars themselves. So you can see here a microcosm of what we're talking about here. Every pink dot is a satellite. So pretty insane. So if you people like to look at the stars, you may, your days to do that may be numbered if Musk and company get their way. Chicago theft causes stores to close. Mayor proposes government grocery stores. I mentioned this a week or two ago, and they're still talking about it. Chicago Mayor Johnson announced that the city will experiment with centrally planned grocery stores following the closure of Whole Foods and Walmart stores. Leftist politicians and the media refuse to acknowledge that rampant crime and theft are the cause of the loss of profitability. Compared to 2022, thefts are up 25%. According to the Chicago PD, while robberies are up 11%. Constant theft means constant needing to restock stolen items to keep up with customer demands. There is no incentive for government-run grocery stores to cut costs because the costs are paid by the taxpayer. When you subsidize something, you get more of it, including theft. The number of Chicago residents who live a mile or more from a grocery store has jumped 63% since 2013. Liberals blame racism, discrimination, and inequality. But the problem is crime. So anyway, there's more here on this article if you want to pull it up. And it's also called communism. Next one I've got on needtoknow.news. Former January 6th prosecutor accused of stabbing a driver in a road rage fight in Florida. Again, he's a January 6th prosecutor, a former prosecutor. Patrick Douglas Scruggs, a former U.S. Department of Justice prosecutor whose tenure included January 6 Capitol breach cases, has been accused of stabbing a Florida man in a road rage fight on a bridge outside Tampa. The incident began when the victim slumped over in his driver's seat and stopped traffic during the morning rush hour on Tuesday. A pair of Good Samaritans went to check on him, and he woke up, hit the gas, and crashed into the car in front of him. Then he put his car in reverse and backed into Scruggs, according to police. The former prosecutor is accused of smashing through the window and stabbing the victim multiple times. According to police, Scruggs turned the knife on the Good Samaritans, too. Scruggs was released on a $65,000 bond. Interesting, huh? A former U.S. Department of Justice prosecutor. Well, but my guess is he'll probably get away with it. We'll see. I don't know. Pretty interesting that he was going after the J6ers, though. All right, so I've got Daily Crow pulled up here, and this is something that I figured might come up tonight, so I would mention this first part of it, and we can talk about it more later if you guys want. Of course, we've got October 4th coming soon. Many people are calling it the zombie apocalypse is coming. I'm not so sure about that, but I do think this is interesting. Check this out. Putin to stage first nationwide exercise simulating nuclear attack from the West on October 3rd. The one-day nuclear attack exercise, which has only ever been done region by region, will include preparation for the destruction of up to 70% of Russian housing stock and life support facilities. So they're doing this on October 3rd. And remember, they're quite a few hours ahead of U.S. time. And also, there are like 11 time zones in Russia. Is this a coincidence that it tends to be overlapping with the FEMA thing? The emergency broadcast test that they're going to run on October 4th in the U.S.? I didn't know if you guys knew about this. I have the article pulled up, I believe, on one of these other tabs. So we'll look at that more in just a sec. News Wars, it's official. Michelle Obama, a.k.a. Big Mike, is set to announce presidential run. So if you had any doubts, I think you can pretty much bank on the fact that Big Mike is going to be the the person that they end up replacing Biden with. And I say that because Obama wants a fourth term. He's had his third term already with Biden, so he gets a fourth term if Big Mike gets in there. So we'll see what happens. But it says, with Biden's deteriorating mental health, the establishment has to make a move. And you can see why they call him Big Mike, because he ain't a girl. So AJ breaks down the evidence that Michelle Obama is set to announce her run for president, replacing Sleepy Joe. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. I think that there's a lot of legitimacy to that. I don't know that Gruesome will be the person that they choose, because they really don't want another white guy in there. You know what I mean? Because they're just those type of people. So I think there's a really good chance that it could very well be Big Mike. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, many people are saying no to Joe at this point on the Democrat side. So we'll see how it plays out, obviously. Hillary Clinton warns election interference deniers that Putin will interfere with the 2024 election, and if we're not careful, Donald Trump could win the presidency. Because why? Oh yeah, because Russia. So Hillary's still out there, able to say anything like this that she wants. She keeps promoting this lie that this Russia collusion thing, and the whole thing was a hoax to begin with, and it was never true. And yet she continues to say everything that she wants to about this, and no one ever calls her on the carpet for it. No one ever brings it up or questions it. Failed candidate Clinton is at it again. She's here to tell us that all our elections are not secure except in 2020, and that at any point Russia could interfere with them and make it so a Republican wins the White House. She's serious, folks. Take her seriously. So anyway, there's the article. This is on notthebee.com. The Russians are coming. The Russians are coming. Yeah, I'm sure they are, and I'm sure they're the ones forcing Joe Biden to fall off his bike, to wander aimlessly away from podiums and explain to Jewish folks how he grew up in a synagogue. In fact, it's probably Putin himself in a Biden suit, doing all those things right under our noses. How did we not notice? So yeah. Anyway, pretty funny. But yeah, it's okay if she does it, I guess. All right, so this is one thing I wanted to take a look at. We mentioned the train loads of migrants coming in. This is yet more video footage. This is a train just stopped and drone flying over. New footage shows train loads of military-age males currently en route to the U.S. border. This is not normal. No kidding. So this is on Twitter, but it's by In Wokeness, if you guys want to look at this at all. But pretty interesting footage, and there's a lot of it. So yeah, the border is too open. Democrat New York Governor Kathy Hochul becomes immigration hawk, calls for limiting number of migrants and doubling or quadrupling Border Patrol agents. Well, wait a minute. I thought she wanted to bring them all in. Don't the Democrats want to bring all of the migrants from all over the world into the U.S. and feed and clothe them? And I would add also probably provide weapons to them too. Well, New York Governor Kathy Hochul has turned into a immigration hawk after the Biden administration has overwhelmed her state, and specifically New York City, with an unceasing flood of thousands upon thousands of migrants. Appearing on the CBS News program Deface the Nation on Sunday, Hochul called for limits on migration at the border and for doubling or quadrupling of Border Patrol agents. Well, wait a minute. It doesn't sound like she's going along with the overall Democrat narrative, so I'm wondering if her days are numbered. They might not support her reelection. We'll see. Hochul cast blame on Republicans and Speaker McCarthy rather than Biden, ignoring that it is Biden's policies that have instigated the massive amount of illegal immigration since he took office in 21. Yes, and the numbers I'm hearing are somewhere in the 40 plus million people that have already come in. Not just a few million, it's double-digit millions. Somewhere around 40 to 50 million are the latest real-world numbers that are coming in. So yeah, but Kathy Hochul says it's too open at the border. Well, she's right, but it's not Republicans' fault. At least not entirely Republicans' fault. I mean, they could shut it down just as easily, but they're not. At LeoHoman.com, globalists have another shock event planned in pursuit of the 4 Ds: digitization, dehumanization, destruction, and depopulation. The 4 Ds. 2024 will make 2023 look like a walk in the park, but we can make it through the storm if we hold on to our humanity and faith in God. The convergence of multiple red alert warnings is staring us in the face, all pointing to a major, quote, event of some type in the upcoming weeks or months, which we've been talking about that a lot on this show, exactly what that could be, what it might look like. Whatever it is, the new catastrophe will hasten the collapse of the old world system, a collapse of economies and political structures that is already underway, paving the way for the Great Reset, or as some call it, the New World Order. I call it the Beast System. So, once again, Leo Homan knocks it out of the park here, so feel free to look at this. There's tons of really good info here on exactly what he's talking about. Got some Homo Harari clips in here embedded as well. Some good stuff here from LeoHoman.com, which is where that is. Activist post, U.S. military is laying the groundwork to reinstitute the draft. So we talked about this before on the show as well, that that's a possibility that they could try it. I don't know that they'll actually be able to pull this one off, but let's see what this says. The most recent edition of the U.S. Army War College's academic journal includes a highly disturbing essay on what lessons the U.S. military should take away from the continuing war in Ukraine. By far the most concerning and most relevant section for the average American citizen is a subsection entitled Casualties, Replacements, and Reconstitutions, which, to cut right to the chase, directly states large-scale combat operations troop requirements may well require a reconceptualization of the 1970s and 1980s volunteer force and a move toward partial conscription. If you don't know what conscription means, that means the draft. An industrial war of attrition would require vast numbers of troops. So as you can see, and maybe you haven't heard, I don't know, but they're planning on this war in Ukraine going on for many, many years. Which, again, I don't think they have that kind of time at all, but that's what they want. That's what the military-industrial complex wants. And what they usually want, they usually get in one way or another. So, yep. Bringing back the draft. So again, that's on Activist Post. And I found this one as well on Sputnik. North Korea unanimously amends constitution on accelerated development on nuclear weapons. North Korea develops nuclear weapons to guarantee the country's rights to existence and development, deter war, and protect peace and stability in the region, North Korean state-run news agency reported Thursday. Citing this person, Hae, the chairman of the Standing Committee of North Korea's Supreme People's Assembly. The Democratic Republic of Korea, which is North Korea, a responsible nuclear weapons state, develops highly nuclear weapons to ensure the rights to existence and development of the country, deter war, and defend peace and stability in the region and the rest of the world. So they say. So yeah. That was kind of interesting that they're saying the North Koreans are out there defending peace and safety. Yes. I thought this was kind of interesting. You know, Trump fans or not, I do tend to agree with this. We will immediately stop all of the pillaging and theft. Very simply, if you rob a store, you can fully expect to be shot as you're leaving that store. Yes, but the key is that they're robbing the stores in cities, primarily blue cities, which have already outlawed guns, right? So how's that going to happen exactly? But I agree with the premise of it, but because that's called deterrence. But I don't know. Realistically, I'm not sure. It might be too far down the road to even happen in some of the blue cities at this point. So here's the Putin article I mentioned earlier. Putin to stage first nationwide exercise simulating nuclear attack from the West. Russia will stage its first nationwide nuclear attack exercise across 11 time zones in preparation for potential nuclear war. It is scheduled to take place on October 3rd and will see Putin's regime present the West as a nuclear aggressor. You think? That's exactly what's going on. The one-day nuclear attack exercise, which has only ever been done region by region, will include preparation for the destruction of up to 70% of Russian housing stock and life support facilities. It will assume the scenario that martial law has been introduced in Russia and that it has gone through full mobilization. They're doing this across 11 time zones, and there are millions and millions of people, which, by the way, they do have underground bunkers for most of them. And where are our underground bunkers here in the U.S.? Where were they? Where are they? Oh, yeah, we don't have any. Only the elite have them. They're called DUMBs. Deep underground military bases. They exist. They're real. Says, the scenario for the test reads, in some constituent entities, regions of the Russian Federation, as a result of emergencies or other types of physical impact, complete destruction of life support facilities and up to 70% of the housing stock is possible. It envisions accidents at hydraulic structures, chemically and radiation hazardous facilities, resulting in secondary hazards. Civil servants and regional officials will be ordered to organize non-staff emergency rescue teams, endure food and medical supplies, and protection from radioactive protection. The document further warns the risk of armed conflicts escalating into local and regional wars, including those involving nuclear powers, is increasing. So they are trying to prepare their population for nuclear attack from the West. I think that's a pretty good idea, considering the fact that it looks very probable that something like that could happen, because the people that run our government, people that run the West in general, are fully capable of this. This is the evil empire. Goes back to the old video clip, you may have seen it, that has, I think it's from a British TV show that says, Hans, are we the baddies? Yes, Hans, we are the baddies. Not us, but the people in charge of our countries are the baddies. So, meaning it's very possible that our evil empire could be the ones to strike the match first here and attack Russia. So I think Putin and company are doing the right thing. They're trying to prepare their millions and millions of people against potential nuclear conflict. So let me know what you guys think about that. But I do think it's very interesting that it happens to be coinciding with the emergency broadcast test that's happening here in the States on October the 4th. And it just so happens that this nuclear test in Russia is basically at the same time. I don't think that's a coincidence. U.S. government stopped me from interviewing Putin, Carlson says. Former Fox News host has questioned why you're not allowed to hear the Russian president's voice. Well, the reason is because then the truth might get out. But, you know, there's always been a precedent for news reporters to go interview leaders of other countries that are involved in wars that your country is involved with. It happened all the time before Crazy Town happened. You know, but they don't want Tucker Carlson to go talk to Putin, because then there's no filter. There's no mainstream media filter. And then the people who see that might realize that he's not such an evil tyrant that he's been, you know, labeled as, that he's been turned into in the West. So that's the main reason. So yes, he was stopped from interviewing Putin. I thought that was pretty interesting. WEF running U.S. border crisis from military bases in Panama. The World Economic Forum has taken control of several American military bases in Panama and is orchestrating the flood of migrants that are heading toward the U.S. southern border in their millions. The globalist organization is reportedly running an operation to round up migrants and transport them to the border so they can illegally enter the U.S. through Biden's open border. The WEF operation was revealed by political commentator Ann Vandersteel during her show Right Now. The host recently visited the former site of Fort Clayton near the former Panama Canal Zone, once a heavy base of operations for the U.S. During her visit, Vandersteel found out that the WEF had moved into the area. She took a picture of the WEF flag flying side by side with the Panamanian flag. I want you to take a good hard look at that right now, America. See those flags? The flags you see? That's right, the World Economic Forum flying their flag overhead of the old Southcom, U.S. Southern Command Base, which was Fort Clayton in Panama. That's right, next to the Panamanian flag. The U.S. government has abandoned Panama, which is the American crown jewel of Latin America. The U.S. military compounds are either totally run down or worse, occupied by, as I said, globalist psychopaths. We, the Americans, built the canal, and we, our government, I should say, gave it away, she added. Panamanians love Americans, and they're asking, where are the Americans? Well, the Americans that would help them are most likely being stopped from helping because it's the evil people in charge that are actually controlling the shots. So they will not be getting any help, unfortunately. Thought that was pretty interesting, though. I didn't know that about Panama. Information liberation. This is the story that I mentioned briefly earlier. Democrat Rep. Jamal Bowman, caught on video pulling fire alarm to obstruct a vote on avoiding the shutdown. So there he is, actually pulling the fire alarm. Rep. Bowman changed his story later in the day on Saturday, claiming that he pulled the fire alarm because he thought it would open a locked exit door. This is how stupid they think that we all are. Bowman tells reporters, I thought the alarm would open the door. I mean, if he's that stupid, should he be a congressman? I think not. So anyways, yeah, he's making up excuses here. So he pulled the fire alarm because he wanted to get out of taking the test, right? Because he's a 7th grader, if that. What a total moron. And then, speaking of total morons, AOC defends Bowman pulling the fire alarm. He did it in a moment of panic, she says. I think there's something to be said about governments about to shut down. There's a vote clock that's going down. The exits are all normally opened in that building are suddenly closed, says the socialist representative, AOC. Yes, so the video clip, I would play it for you if I was on my other system, but it's a little bit more cumbersome, again, to do that here. But you guys can go watch it if you want. It's on InfoWars. But Democrat Rep. AOC defended her socialist colleague, Rep. Jamal Bowman, Democrat, New York, pulling the fire alarm in a House office building to delay a stopgap spending bill designed to avert a government shutdown. So that was them hitting the panic button, literally. So yeah, that's on InfoWars. And activist posts, Terminator-inspired electrodes grown in living brains pave the way for neurological disorder treatments. How about that? Yeah, it says, of course this type of technology can offer breakthroughs in health, but it shouldn't take science fiction to predict where this can also go horribly wrong, not to mention potential military applications. That's because they weaponize literally everything. So yeah, that's on Activist Post. And we've got lots of good headlines over here on that website. I don't know if you guys have looked at it before, but they do have a lot of good articles. So some of the headlines, 2 very ominous events that are going to happen this week by Michael Snyder. I bet I can guess what one of them is. Probably the October 4th thing. Says, Russia will stage its first nuclear attack exercise across 11 time zones in preparation for potential nuclear war. It is scheduled to take place October 3rd. We'll see Putin's regime present the West as a nuclear aggressor. But yeah, this is on, again, Activist Post. 5 abuses of science for power, profit, and political gains. So yeah, I've been, one of the things I've been saying quite a bit lately was I will trust the science when the science can't be bought. Because that's pretty much where we're at this point. U.S. signs deal that will allow military deployments to Ecuador. Ecuador, interesting. Reduce your breast cancer risk by keeping cell phones and other wireless sources away from your breasts and other places, I would add. But yeah, Don't be one of those people that puts your phone in your bra. I've seen people do that. It's totally insane. It's like the worst possible place to put it if you're a lady. A Tale of Two Men, Dr. Peter Hotez and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. I bet that's interesting. Is the money in your checking account yours or the bank's? That's a trick question because it's definitely the bank's once you put it into your account. You think it's yours, but it's actually the bank's. So if you guys don't know about that, maybe check out the article on Activist Post. Christian family faces deportation 15 years after fleeing Germany to homeschool their kids. So they're deporting this family, and millions of people are literally flooding across the U.S. southern border. But this family apparently is super evil because they want to homeschool their kids. Yeah. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, told a German Christian family that was persecuted for homeschooling their children that they needed to prepare to be deported after living in the U.S. for 15 years. So, kind of says it all. Biden going after all kinds of people like this. So, not too surprising, actually. That's on WND. Summit.news, more deceit. Matt Gaetz rages over McCarthy-Ukraine side deal to pass the stopgap. So this is the other thing I alluded to early on in the first story that I talked about tonight. Update, following the Senate's passage of the continuing resolution, Rep. Matt Gaetz took to Twitter where he was enraged over a side deal made between McCarthy and the Democrats for Ukraine funding, which Gaetz says he didn't tell House Republicans about until after the vote. So this is Matt Gaetz's tweet. It just says, wow, at Speaker McCarthy made a side Ukraine deal with Democrats and didn't tell House Republicans until after his resolution passed. More deceit. So along those lines, and because of that, now they're going after Gaetz. And I've got an article pulled up on that. So they're going to try and remove Gaetz before he can see to it that McCarthy is given a vote of no confidence. So we'll see what happens. I've got those two articles pulled up as well. Again, Summit.news, Elon Musk, we're running out of conspiracy theories that didn't turn out to be true. Twitter owner comments on Russell Brand witch burning. Twitter X owner Musk has commented on the coordinated political attempt to unperson Russell Brand, describing it as a witch burning and questioning why now, which is what I was saying last week. And by the way, I got in trouble for defending Russell Brand a little bit. I don't know why. I'm defending freedom and the crazy timing of this whole thing, which really has me doubt whether any of it's true. So this is what this article says. Musk made the comments during the conversation on X Spaces Thursday when asked about Brand being demonetized on YouTube owing to allegations of sexual assault dating back a decade. There needs to be, obviously, a conviction here. It can't be guilty until proven innocent, Musk noted, adding, we're just sort of in the witch-burning phase here. Just being declared a witch is enough to make you a witch and be burnt. I think he's got a good point here. Anyone could be accused of, at any time, of false charges, and we can't be destroying their lives on the potential of false accusations, Musk continued. He said that he found it interesting that the charges have emerged now after Brand had been rattling the cage of the powers that be. Seems like an odd coincidence that it's happening when Russell is really gaining traction, questioning a lot of the conventional wisdom, Musk noted, adding that Brand has been targeted as someone who is now spreading, quote, conspiracy theories. I think we're running out of conspiracy theories that didn't turn out to be true, Musk asserted. So I don't disagree with that. I think that that's exactly what's going on. So anyway, I'm sorry if you guys disagree with my position on Russell Brand, but I stand firm that I think that he's being railroaded, and we need to see the evidence. But it doesn't matter if there's any evidence. All that matters is the accusation at this point. That's what Musk is talking about here. The accusation is all. And it doesn't matter if it's true or not. It's just that we're going to burn him now because he's been accused of something. What about you? What about if you get accused of something and it's a total lie, and then you get burned? So that's kind of where I'm at with the whole thing, because I personally wouldn't want people out there defending me if it was not true, you know. And even if it was true, I would certainly offer up some sort of an apology as well. And I don't know that Russell Brand has done that, because I'm not sure that he's done anything wrong. Maybe he has. I don't know. We just don't know. But that's the whole point, is that we're getting ready to burn him at the stake here when there's something that they tend to refer to as evidence that seems to be lacking. So I don't know. I mentioned this last week. Canadians, not the Speaker of the House, but this overall story. Canadian Speaker of the House quits following the Nazi scandal. Anthony Rota falls on his sword as Trudeau refuses to take any responsibility. That's this guy right here. This is Anthony Rota. And we mentioned this last week when they're out there defending this 98-year-old literal Nazi and giving him a huge standing ovation in the Canadian Parliament. Canadian Speaker of the House has resigned following the incident where a 98-year-old SS soldier was cheered and honored in Parliament, with Prime Minister Trudeau refusing to take any responsibility despite meeting with Ukrainian Nazi beforehand. As we noted earlier in the week, Anthony Rota apologized for the scandal, but it wasn't enough. Trudeau threw Rota under the bus. Opposition leader Pierre told Parliament that Canadians are sick and tired of a prime minister who never takes responsibility for things that happen under his watch, adding he always finds someone else to throw under the bus, which that's totally true, and asking the Speaker of the House, are you that person? Which obviously he was, because he has stepped down now. So anyways, and I see a comment over there talking about Russell Brand. I'm not a Russell Brand fan. It doesn't matter if you're a Russell Brand fan. It has no bearing on anything. The point is that he is being charged with something that may or may not be true, and it's up to us to at least give him the benefit of the doubt. If you want to believe he's guilty, that's totally fine. But you have to look at the timing of this whole thing, and the fact that Hunter Biden can get away with anything and everything. And we know he's guilty because he's on video, and yet no one does anything. So they're just going after Brand because he is out there talking about stuff that the mainstream media and the powers that be don't really like too much. And I've got some Gateway Pundit articles pulled up here. This is one of them I mentioned a minute ago. Breaking, Matt Gaetz says he will file a motion to vacate this week, a call to remove McCarthy as Speaker. So I think that is good news. Hopefully that will happen, although I don't know that they have the numbers to do that. We'll see what happens. Rep. Matt Gaetz joined ABC's This Week and CNN's State of the Union on Sunday following the vote last night by the U.S. House of Reps to avert a shutdown with a 45-day stopgap resolution that did not fund Ukraine. The vote on Saturday was delayed after unhinged Marxist Democrat Jamal Bowman pulled a fire alarm to shut down Congress and evacuate the Cannon building, something that should land him in prison for several years going by the J6 defendants' standards. So that's a good point. Gaetz told ABC's This Week that his plan to bring forward a House vote on Kevin McCarthy's speakership. So I think that's good news. We'll see what happens. Gaetz says this is an exercise to show the American people who really governs you, adding, I actually think Democrats are going to bail out Kevin McCarthy. Yeah, because he's one of them. Matt Gaetz has not kept this a secret. Gaetz warned he would do this for months now. So hopefully he actually will. We will see. And then along those lines, House Rhinos reportedly looking into expelling Matt Gaetz based on the findings from the ongoing Ethics Committee investigation. We want him out. So they just drum up, going back to Russell Brand again. I keep coming back to this. They just make stuff up and they say it. And just because they put the story out there, whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter. It gets reported as truth. And therefore, you're bad and you have to leave because we don't like what you're doing. And that's exactly what's going on with Gaetz here. A faction within the Republican Party is reportedly considering the expulsion of Matt Gaetz based on the anticipated findings, not actual findings, from an upcoming House ethics report. Multiple unnamed House Republicans, read rhinos, have reportedly stated that they want Gaetz gone from the caucus. We want him out. But they're not putting their faces out there. But we know who they are. They're the rhino type folks in the House. So anyway, pretty interesting. Again, we'll see what happens. I don't know. And this is the old guy that the Canadian Parliament was saluting. Nazigate, former SS fighter Yaroslav Hunka's family is in hiding following controversy over his honoring by the Canadian Parliament. A few minutes of standing ovation in Parliament developed into a long nightmare for the family of a 98-year-old Nazi veteran. Well, I don't feel too sorry for him. Do you know what this guy did? I don't know if this article says it, but what I have read about this guy is that the SS group that he was directly involved with, and there's pictures of him with the group, so we know he was there. One person that they killed directly was a 15-year-old boy who literally had a Russian coin in his pocket, and for that they killed him. They murdered the 15-year-old boy. This man and his friends murdered that 15-year-old boy for having a Russian coin in his pocket. And he was also directly or indirectly responsible for at least 1,000 other people being killed. That's why they were honoring this guy, because he fits perfectly into the Zelensky, the ding-a-ling piano playing Zelensky, and his Nazi regime of Ukrainian military people. He fits in perfectly. That's why they were honoring him in the Canadian Parliament. So just thought you'd like to know. Senate changes the rules so Dianne Feinstein can stay in office while she's dead. Yes, this is a parody, but it's not really that far out. I mean, I think that this is somewhat believable. Let's just keep going here. It's wrong to discriminate against the dead, warns Chucky Schumer. Senator Dianne Feinstein will continue to serve in office even after shuffling off her mortal coil thanks to a new power play from a Democrat party. Just days after Chucky Schumer ended the chamber's dress code for Senator John Fetterman, dress code could dress like an insane ogre, the top Democrat decided to up the ante while adhering to the party's mantra of inclusivity. It's wrong to discriminate against the dead, Schumer told InfoWars in an exclusive interview. With this necromantic decree, I am adding the massive roster of the unliving to our ranks. All the years of using the deceased as voters allowed for this smooth transition. Isn't that nice? Of course, this is parody. It's not really true, but it's not really that far flung, really, is it? I mean, I could see him going for this just to keep Dianne Feinstein voting, even though she's dead. So anyway, 90 years old, she passed away. Pelosi to accompany the body of Feinstein back to San Francisco. You can make up your own joke here. Probably not really necessary for me to. Democrat Rep. Nancy Pelosi will accompany the body of Feinstein back to San Francisco on a military jet on Saturday. 90-year-old Feinstein passed away on Thursday at her home in D.C. Pelosi and Feinstein have been friends for many years and were also neighbors in San Fran. According to a spokesperson for late Senator, her daughter, Catherine Feinstein, will also be on the flight. As of now, the family has not announced any memorial plan details. That's because she's going to continue to serve in the Congress, in the Senate. No, I'm just joking, but it's really not that far off or hard to imagine. In case you missed it, tyrant Justin Trudeau moves to regulate podcasts and to analyze and track content and subscribers. And then it says Musk weighs in. Canadian tyrant Trudeau's government recently moved to its next phase of controlling the population. The Trudeau government will now regulate podcasts. This is not fiction. They will now regulate podcasts and track content and subscribers. This tyrannical order comes after Trudeau restricted access to news in Canada last August. This should come as no surprise. Trudeau previously froze the bank accounts of protesting truckers in Canada. Again, in part using geofencing, what we talked about before. Measuring, using satellites to grab the cell phone data. That's how they were able to track where these people worked and who were paying them, and then track down their bank accounts. The Trudeau government announced that being pro-Trump was a factor that they would use to freeze accounts. Infamous international podcaster Jordan Peterson responded to the recent move. Not a effing chance, you censorial scumrat. Anyway, yep, that's what Trudeau is wanting to do. So he's a perfect little servant of the New World Order, i.e. Klaus Schwab and the World Economic Forum. So that's what they're trying to do in Canada. So let's see here. Let's take a quick break here and see what you guys are saying. We've got lots of comments here, and this particular system that I'm using tonight is a little bit different than my normal one, and I can put the comments. If you're on YouTube or Facebook, I can put the comments on the screen here. So let's see. The first comments are from Miss Emily and Verba Homefront. How's Mama? Thank you. Yep, I'll mention that in just a minute. I'll say this. She's doing really well, and slowly getting better. Slowly getting better. So, yeah. Thanks for asking, and that's why I'm traveling actually right now. Hello from Southern California, Miss Ruby says. Hi there. Let's see. Yep, here we go. 3 days until the zombie apocalypse. Yes, only 3 days. We're down to just a matter of hours. Yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think about all that? We talked about it before. I think we mentioned it last week. I personally don't really think it's going to be much of anything. I think it's going to be much ado about nothing for the most part. I do think there's a possibility, and I think it will mostly be a data collection exercise. So I won't say that nothing will happen. I do think if nothing else, it will be a data collection exercise. So, I mean, personally what I will do, even though I'll be traveling still on the 4th, I think that shutting things off is certainly a good idea. So if you can, shut things down for a few hours while they're running the tests, which I think is, I heard like 2:22 or something like that Eastern time. I don't know exactly what time it is, but it's the 4th, and I think it's somewhere around 2:20 Eastern time, and then you can do the math on that. But yeah, I'll probably be shutting my stuff down. I don't know what you guys are doing, but I think it certainly makes sense to do something like that. I don't think that they can send one pulsed signal through all these devices all at the same time and turn people into zombies. I don't think that's going to happen, because I don't think that's exactly how technology works. And plus just the simple fact that they have had these towers up all over the place for a long, long time. Why would they bother to announce it? They can just beam the frequencies out whenever they want, literally. They have all kinds of power in these 5G towers and other towers. So they could do it anytime they want. I don't think they're going to want to give people a heads up, personally. Kathy says, this FEMA emergency broadcast system warning is everywhere. Even got fact-checked, which means they're worried that we are aware and alert. Yeah, I think people are worried about it. I'm not sure that it's completely founded in reality, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I can't really say that it's going to be nothing, because I think that if nothing else, it will be data gathering for sure. So we will see what happens, though. And then it's very possible that they delay it. You know, that the Greg Reese report mentioned that that they could end up delaying it until the 11th. I think that's a possibility, or just do it on a different day that's a surprise, or maybe they'll do both days. It's really hard to say. Can anyone remember when the government didn't go through the dog and pony show with government shutdown? These people were elected, that we elected, quote unquote, are so manipulative. Yes, they are. Yes, they are. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't all that long ago, really, when it wasn't a dog and pony show. They use it as a dog and pony show when it benefits them. Yes, people who wear masks as if they need to lose any more brain cells. Yes, they need to keep all of the brain cells that they have. This whole rise in theft, robbery, and sordid crimes is geared toward an even more unpleasant reality, thanks to their age-old problem-reaction-solution dialectic. Yes, that's exactly right. Yep. That seems to be how it's playing. Russia has an annual nuclear drill where the population actually participated. For America, it's up to you to know what to do. Yes, that's exactly right. And most people don't. If you ask them, what would you do if you heard that the nuclear missiles are flying, or that the emergency broadcast system comes on, again, going back to that, and they would let you know that missiles are in the air, what would you do? Most people have no idea what they would do. Although I'm grateful to be made aware and be here with many good people virtually, I still think the world's a better place before the internet and the Internet of Things. Yes, I think you're right. I agree about the potentially false allegations against Brand. Anyone can be targeted with false accusations, including us. Yeah, and we will be. If we're not yet, we certainly will be. Okay, yeah. Cowboy says, I was commenting on someone's comment, not on what you were saying. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I don't think you have to be a Russell Brand fan. Again, not to belabor the point here, but yeah, thanks for weighing in on it. I think it is an interesting situation for sure. And you got people like Owen Schroyer, who is getting ready to report to jail, essentially. They've given him until October the 24th to turn himself in, like he did anything wrong. They're literally jailing him for his free speech that he no longer has. That's the reason they are putting him in jail for 60 days. And it's just amazing that it's come to that at that point. Kathy says, AJ did a great interview with British reporter who broke the story on the Nazi. Yeah, I heard that. It was really good. He confirmed Trudeau et al. Vetted this guy and knew his background. Yes, that's right, Kathy. Yep. They knew exactly what he was all about, and that's exactly why they did it, to rub our faces in it. Let's see here. Just because I don't care for someone does not mean that I think he should be targeted. Yes, well said. Also said Canada has never extradited any Nazis. Yeah, I heard that. Yep. Yeah, and the hero reporter was arrested for breaking the story in the Nazi. Yeah, I know. He was arrested, but they ended up letting him go because they had nothing, literally nothing to hold him on. Yeah, I heard Trudeau got busted for cocaine on his person while boarding his flight or something to that effect. Yeah, what I heard there, Cowboy, was that it was found on his plane. I don't know if it was on him. So, yeah, I think 10-4 is a nothing sandwich. Yeah. Kind of like the Y2K hype. Yeah, that could be. That's a good analogy. It could very well be what's going on with that. I don't know. We'll see. We're not that far away, right? So we'll see what happens, I guess. That was the end of the comments. Thanks, you guys. Some good ones there. Yeah, let's keep moving here. I've got a few more articles and like I said, a couple more videos, several more things I wanted to mention, and then I wanted to mention the contest as well. If you guys know about the contest, I did a funny little, I thought it was funny, post earlier today, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. InfoWars, Russian mystery plane that landed in Pyongyang making Washington nervous. And we kind of touched on this earlier, talking about North Korea. A Russian mystery plane spotted in North Korea is making Washington nervous after Kim Jong-un visited Russia to meet with Putin this month. The two leaders, deemed rogue actors by the West, are believed to have discussed and possibly inked a weapons deal at a moment that Moscow needs more ammunition for military operations in Ukraine. So interesting that they're nervous. I don't know if they're really nervous or not, but yeah, they're saying that Kim Jong-un and Putin are teaming up, which it does appear to be that way. Biden claims Musk's X has made it so Americans have no notion whether news is true or not. So it's Musk's fault that we don't trust the news. Pretty funny, huh? In other words, Musk taking over Twitter has made it difficult for government to lie to the American people as citizen journalists constantly expose them. Yep, that's pretty much what's going on. The the Twitter platform, I will say, before Musk, I always called it a vast wasteland and not really worth bothering to be on. But I have now changed my mind on that. I do think that there's still some of that, but it is better. And I do have a Twitter account now. I do have the Diamond Report on Twitter and do use it some. I don't use it as much as I use some of the others, but I think it's worth being on there now, and it's not as censorship happy, I guess, as it used to be. So I think that's good news. It says Biden claimed Musk's purchase of X, formerly Twitter, has made it so Americans have no notion whether news is true or not. In a ProPublica interview on Sunday, Biden claimed Musk's X platform is contributing to a rise in, quote, misinformation, meaning the truth is leaking out. We can't have that. What about what Elon Musk has done to Twitter, lowering the guardrails against misinformation? Does that contribute to it? So he set him up. The question is a setup where Biden can just take a soft swing and there's no chance that he will miss the baseball coming in. You know what I mean? So, yeah, he's blaming Musk for all this misinformation now. It just means that they don't have total dominant control over that particular platform like they do all the others. So that's just not acceptable. Speaking of which, Bill Maher calls for Biden to drop out of the 24 race. He looks like his own skeletal remains. I thought that was pretty funny. There is a term for Joe Biden, but not two, he says. That's funny. Bill Maher called for Biden to bow out of the 2024 presidential race, citing his cognitive and physical decline. Yeah, he's calling him Ruth Bader Biden. Thought that was pretty funny. I'm not really a Bill Maher fan, but there were some funny lines in this video, and it's embedded here if you guys want to watch it on InfoWars. And again, we'll link to all these articles in my Substack post tomorrow if you're not already on there. I'll show you how to do that here in just a minute. World War III military draft. Are we about to be conscripted to fight Russia? Well, not this young man. I don't know about you guys. U.S. Army War College's academic journal floats possibility of once again conscripting American citizens to fight in its wars. So yeah, there's a video here embedded if you guys want to check that out. We mentioned that earlier though. Western idiots want World War III. Ex-Russian president. The number of high-ranking morons in NATO states is on the rise, Dmitry Medvedev says. There he is. The conflict in Ukraine may lead to World War III because of the idiots, quote-unquote, occupying leading roles in the West. I think that's putting it mildly. Medvedev is using very mild language, just calling them idiots. But he's not wrong. Oh, here's the video here that was just mentioned. Who was that mentioned that? Kathy, I think. Warren Thornton, arrested for reporting on Ukrainian Nazis in Parliament. So you guys can watch that if you want. It's embedded on Infowars.com if you want to watch it. It's actually really good. And he's the journalist who was arrested. And basically they had nothing to hold him. They had no reason to keep him, so they ended up having to let him go pretty quickly. Former foster child who was raped, tortured, and abused for decades, found dead, leaves behind 2 children. So it sounds like an interesting story. This, again, is on Vaccine Impact. And Grandma survived the Great Depression because her supply chain was local and she knew how to do stuff. Yep. That's pretty much it. BlackRock and Vanguard are the top globalists who run the world for now. So, article about them, and then why are Americans allowing mass murderers and criminals to continue running the country? The gun control issue almost nobody is discussing. So there's some good articles and more on vaccineimpact.com. We usually just look at the headlines on here, but feel free to check it out if you want to. There's some good stuff on there, as always. NotToBe.com, archaeologists unearth 5th century stone fragment of Psalm 86 in the Judean desert. Thought that was kind of interesting. Very cool find from some intrepid history diggers. in the Holy Land, a rare inscription paraphrasing part of Psalm 86 in the Greek, used in the New Testament, has been unearthed by a team of Hebrew University archaeologists working at the Hyrcania Fortress, a Second Temple-era structure situated atop a forbidding hilltop in the Judean desert about 17 kilometers southeast of Jerusalem. The remains of Hyrcania Fortress are among the most desolate and far-flung that you can picture. Look at that. That's crazy. The archaeologists, as part of their recent dig, excavated a deep collapsed layer of building stones in one corner of the site, where they discovered an elongated hall lined with piers, which they speculated was part of the monastery of the facility from centuries before. On the floor of this dig, the historians found a sizable building stone bearing lines of text painted in red. Expert translation revealed that it was a quote from Psalm 86, albeit paraphrased to reflect the New Testament. While the original lines are, "Hear me, Lord, and answer me, for I am poor and needy. Guard my life, for I am faithful to you," the Hyrcania version reads, "Jesus Christ, guard me, for I am poor and needy." One archaeologist called the discovery truly exceptional for their clarity and provenance. Another inscription, meanwhile, was recently discovered nearby and is currently undergoing analysis. Pretty interesting that these Jewish people found this archaeological stone fragment, I guess. They found this stone fragment, and it's mentioning Jesus Christ, and they're Jewish. Pretty funny. So that's on Not to Be. Now, this is one I would love to play for you guys, but I can't really play it on this platform, so you guys can go watch it if you want. It's worth it. I think it's funny. This Tennessee rep had my favorite reply for a journalist who asked him a stupid question. Here it is. I promise you it's worth watching the video. Tennessee Representative Tim Burchett from the great city of Knoxville just laid waste to this journalist who asked a silly question. What I'll do is I'll play it and you can see it, and I'll just read what he says. You won't be able to hear it. But check this video out and get a load of the guy that's filming him. What's wrong with the guy that's filming him? I'll just ask you that question. There's the representative. Look what the guy's pointing to. The guy that's filming him. All right. So here's what was said. The journalist asked if Burchett supported the government shutdown like Donald Trump. Burchett didn't seem to understand the question exactly right, but when you see what he was looking at, you'll forgive him for being distracted. Actually, what he said was, he asked him a Trump question. Do you support Trump's call to shut down the government? That was the question. And Burchett said, Trump didn't call me, or something like that. Trump didn't call me. So he kind of like basically threw the guy's question away. But the funny part here was, he said, I do not support you wearing black socks with short pants. That was funny. Boom, roasted, it says. There's the guy who was asking him the question. Fetterman dresses better than this dude. It says, said something about, right here, it says, it had to be said, dude is out there in broad daylight, dressed like a second grader. And I can definitely attest to that. He does look like a second grader. Yep. He's got the backpack. He's got the black socks with the black shoes, the short pants, and the shirt tucked in with the belt. He does look like a second grader. Yep. Pretty funny. Again, on notthebee.com. So let's see here. Let me see what other things you guys are saying. Kathy says, Deb Tavares thinks that 10-4 could be collecting data for CCP type of social credit score. Shut down just in case it can't hurt. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at too, Kathy. I think that's good advice. I think it's definitely, worst case scenario for all of us who are aware of this kind of stuff is that, hey, you're offline for a few hours. So go enjoy being outside or do something different. You know what I mean? So yeah. Kathy, I read it will still be sent to your phone so that when you turn it back on, it will sound the alarm and do its thing. Who knows? That I don't know. If it's a text message, yes, you would get it later. But as far as I know, they can't activate by text message different frequencies per se. I don't think that would necessarily do much, if anything, if anything at all. So I'm not really clear on exactly what everybody is saying about that, but yeah, I think worst case scenario, you shut it off, you turn it back on later, you might get a text message. You probably will get a text message saying that the alert happened. Beyond that, seeing a piece of text on your screen, I don't know that anything else could happen that wasn't happening in live time at the moment that the broadcasting system is sending the signal out. So if they do this, and obviously they're going to know if all these millions and probably billions of cell phones around the U.S. are active, and many millions of them are turned off all of a sudden, they're going to do the test again. That's what I think. And maybe that's why they've already admitted that there'll be a second date and perhaps even a second test. Although, why would they announce it? That's I keep coming back to that. If it was really that important, why would they announce it? It seems to me like if they really wanted if they wanted answers for whatever it is they're trying to do, the powers that be, it seems to me like they wouldn't tell us. They would just do it, because that's what they like to do. I know, Susan, I'm shutting down Wi-Fi, turning off TVs, putting cell and devices in the microwave just in case I don't have Mylar to wrap stuff in. That's a good idea, Kathy. Yeah, you could put, microwave isn't a bad idea at all. You can definitely put stuff in there. I mean, theoretically, if you're microwaving food, the little microwave oven, the little foil or whatever inside's keeping you from being exposed to it to some degree. Although if you're standing near the microwave while you're cooking food, you're still getting microwaved. It's just less amount. But yeah, I think that would be better than having it sitting on your desk, for instance. Yeah. You can put them in a metal trash can. That's a good idea. Yep. Yeah, the guy reminds me of Napoleon Dynamite's dorky brother, the guy with the socks. Yep. Pee-wee's cousin. Yep. Either way. Wrap phone in 2 layers of foil, Joyce says. Yep, good advice. I don't think there's anything wrong with doing that. I mean, it is a data collection, data mining exercise, if you ask me. And the fact that Deb is out there saying that, I think is good. That's sort of what I've thought all along, that it's all about the data. It really always comes back to the data. And if Deb Tavares is saying that as well, that kind of helps bolster what I'm thinking, because she definitely knows what she's talking about. So anyway, let's see here. Geoengineeringwatch.org. As you guys know, I am the webmaster for this website and help Dane with his broadcast each week. This is another don't miss, in my opinion. Microplastic clouds is what this one's about. Clouds now contain plastic, risking contamination of everything we eat and drink. Airborne plastic particles found in cloud water, according to the Independent newspaper. Geoengineering Watch has been sounding the alarm about polymer fiber nanoparticles in our precipitation for years. What took the so-called science community so long to catch up? New York's manipulated heavy dose of rain was the core component of the temporary East Coast cool-down, which is scheduled to be followed by a warm-up and then another cool down. So this is the weather whack-a-mole and roller coaster that we're exposed to all the time. Though temperatures are scheduled to rapidly rebound, the Gulf Stream current is slowing down and seaborne flesh-eating bacteria are ramping up while the human race faces an unprecedented global toxic emergency. Above it all, and completely connected to it all, are the ongoing and accelerating climate engineering operations. Where do we go from here? So yeah, another don't miss broadcast, in my opinion. So feel free to look at that. It's in the recent column over here on geoengineeringwatch.org. So make sure you're on the newsletter list. If you're not already, you can just click on the left-hand side here, email sign up, and you can put your email in there, and you will get the email broadcast whenever I send that out. Usually it's Saturday evening at some point when the new broadcasts are put up. Also on Saturday, usually Saturday afternoon West Coast time. All right, so this is the Diamond Report on Substack. Feel free to sign up there if you guys want the links for the articles that I talked about tonight and for some of the videos and stuff that I show as well. I didn't show too many videos tonight, but normally we do. I usually am on a different setup. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, I'm on the road. And thank you guys for asking about my mother, and that's why I'm traveling. It's because she had a stroke almost exactly a month ago. Tomorrow will be 1 month. And she did not take the sky. She has some other issues going on. She's 81, and she has lived independently for many, many years at this point. And yeah, she had a stroke, and it's really set her back. So she's doing well, though. She's recovering well, and actually quicker than I thought, honestly. And the good news is, after it happened, I came to see her, and at first it was pretty rough. I must admit, I was not really sure where it was all headed, and I stayed with her for about 10 days, seeing her every day. And then there was about a 2-week gap where I couldn't be there. I had other things happening back home, and so I had to travel back home for a while and stay there. And then from that point, I came back just a few days ago. And I've been here since middle of last week. And I was really surprised to see her progress. So thank you guys for praying for her. I do think the prayers are working because she is getting better, slowly, but it's definitely measurable. And they've got her up and walking now, which is amazing. And she could barely even move her legs last time I saw her. And she's up and walking, not like at a fast clip or anything, but she is able to do it. And many other things that she couldn't really do much before. And so praise the Lord on that. That is all Jesus is doing. That is all the healing of God. And the Holy Spirit and all these people are praying for her through the Holy Spirit, through God, through Jesus, and it is coming into fruition in her life. So thank you guys for that. And I think she is recognizing that. She has so many people telling her that she is being prayed for. So yeah, it's pretty amazing, and it's a miracle. She's going to have a really good testimony, I think, whenever she's better. And yes, it's probably going to take many months before she's back to where she was before, if she can even get 100% back there. So thank you guys. I know a lot of you guys probably are dealing with aging parents, issues with them, and this is a new one for me. My father passed away a long time ago. He was 19 years older than my mom, and I didn't grow up with him, so I lost him quite a few years, about 21 years ago at this point. So that one was difficult for me, but it wasn't as hard as it would be if I were to lose her. And so far, though, it's looking like she's going to recover. And long story short, we're going to at least temporarily, maybe permanently, we'll see, move her to Tennessee. So we're going to be taking care of her for a while, and we'll see if she can get back on her own feet, literally and figuratively both, and we'll see where we are in a few months. So that's the plan, and that's in part why I'm here now. So, and speaking of here, I had put out a video earlier today. Probably only a handful of people who are watching this tonight even saw it, but it was a YouTube short where I spent about a minute detailing that, I was doing a contest, and the contest was to guess where I am in Indiana. And I said that the secret here, the clue is that it is the birthplace of the famous actor James Dean. And many of you guys know who he is. Actor starring in such major motion pictures as Giant and East of Eden and Rebel Without a Cause. Of course, Rebel Without a Cause being the biggest of the three he was in before he was before his untimely death in 1955. Well, this is the town that I'm in is the town he was born in, and he actually grew up about 10 miles from where I'm sitting right here. So it's pretty interesting, and I will say that the few guesses that came in were good guesses, and they were the ones that I saw were both right, and to some degree they were both right. And one person said Fairmount, Fairmount, Indiana. That is where he grew up, but that's not where he was born. And so, Emily, you win the prize. You guessed it right. It's Marion, Indiana, and that's where he was born. And I wanted to show you guys these couple pictures, things that I found. Just kind of looking around for, I was figuring that there might be a few younger people watching who may not even know who James Dean is. So I thought I'd show you guys this. This is just a picture of a sign in a thing here in Marion that's set up. That's a memorial that's dedicated to James Dean. It says was born on February 8th, 1931, in the Seven Gables apartment house, which stood at this site. He starred in 3 major motion pictures: East of Eden, Rebel Without a Cause, and Giant. He died on September 30th, 1955, at age 24 in a traffic accident. In a traffic accident on a California highway. He was laid to rest at Park Cemetery in Fairmount, Indiana, just 10 miles south of this location. So this memorial that we're looking at here is just literally a mile or two from where I'm sitting. So it's right there. And then I found this page as well. There's a wider shot of the memorial. And I've actually been to the cemetery here. This is his tombstone. And it says it's an ordinary looking grave marker except for the lipstick kiss marks and numerous little gifts and flowers that are on it. So pretty wild. And then there's the home. That's the home, I guess, that he grew up in Fairmount. So, and I've been in there before. That's a like a little museum and gift shop kind of thing. But for you guys that don't know, it says James Dean lived up to the moniker of shooting star. Starring in only 3 movies, he became an icon of youth counterculture, only to die in a tragic car crash at age 24. While he is immortalized on Hollywood's silver screen, few know that he hailed from rural Indiana. He was born in Marion, Indiana, February 8th, 1931, and was raised in Fairmount, just 2 towns south. His family moved to California when he was 5, only to see him sent back to live with his aunt and uncle after his mother passed away a few years later. Of course, he would later return to California to start on his acting career. I started my journey in Marion. This is the author of this website. At the memorial marker of the site where he was born, then worked my way south to Fairmount to see homes that he had lived in, the town where he spent most of his childhood, and the cemetery where he was laid to rest. So it's all right there pretty much. So although I haven't been to this right here, this marker place, I have been to these 2 places over in Fairmount. So pretty interesting. And I thought I would share this short video with you. Well, we'll just do it on the way out, I guess, tonight as I wrap things up. I've got the trailer, the original trailer for Rebel Without a Cause. So if you guys haven't seen that film, you're missing one. You're missing a really, really good one. So stay tuned for the next video I play in just a few minutes here when we wrap things up. I want you guys to see the Rebel Without a Cause trailer. It's pretty amazing. When you look at the quality of movie that is and compare it to the crappy films that they're showing today, it's really amazing, in my opinion. All right, so just to wrap things up a little bit tonight, we've got, it's getting late here. It's 1 a.m. where I'm at, so we can wrap it up, I guess. And thanks you guys for hanging in there with me. This is the YouTube channel, Take It to the Lord in Prayer, End Times Dates on YouTube. I didn't really talk too much about exactly what that is, but you guys, many of you follow what I'm doing. You can certainly check that out if you haven't already. There's End Times Dates series, and then these other videos that are on here are what I would qualify as the YouTube safe versions of this broadcast you're hearing tonight. I go back in and I remove all of the stuff about medical misinformation that YouTube could strike me down for. And so that's what these are. These are videos that have that information removed. So it's the safe stream. If you don't want to be offended by medical misinformation, i.e. the truth, then feel free to watch these. And that's why those are on here. It's really just a way of reaching a few more people. And but the End Times Dates series on my YouTube channel is the real thing, in my opinion, that you could definitely spend some time watching. And it's going back to this timeline that we've talked about oh so much. So without going into that, it's basically talking about Jesus' return, September 2028, Feast of Trumpets. So that's what that's about. The End Times Dates series on YouTube is what that's about. So if you had never heard of any of these things, I invite you to at least go to the channel here and watch part 1, End Times Dates, Take It to the Lord in Prayer, the end from the beginning. It's right here. So yeah, there it is there. And then this is my Rumble channel, Diamond Disc on Rumble and on BitChute as well, and Brighteon and ClickView. And the video for tomorrow will be, kind of front and center more or less, and it will have its own new icon and title and all that stuff. I'll decide what that's going to be tomorrow, because I don't really know. When I do these broadcasts, I just sort of put them together spontaneously pretty much and decide that kind of stuff on the fly more or less. So I like doing things that way. To me, it seems a little bit more real versus something that's super canned, and really, I don't want it to be real formulaic, if that makes sense. So anyway, thanks you guys for joining me tonight. I think that's pretty much it. I don't really see any other new comments I need to address. I don't think. Let me double check here before we leave. Yeah, several people said Marion. Yep, that's right. That's where I'm at. Emily says, love Rebel Without a Cause. Yes, and I was going to say, Emily, to claim your reward, and for everyone else, like Susan and others that guessed it correctly, to claim your reward, what you'll have to do is tune in next week, because the contest was a month of free live streams. That's what you won. But everybody won that. Everyone. So, yeah. Anyway, thanks, you guys. Yeah, certainly appreciate it. Doug, you are in my backyard. Oh, okay. Wow, that's interesting. Susan's nearby. Yeah, and then let's see. Woohoo, I get free live streams for a whole month. Emily says, yes, I know you're excited. I hate to break it to you, Emily, but so does everyone else. No, I'm just joking. But yes, thanks for playing the little contest. I thought that was funny. Thank you so much, Doug. Pray the Lord strengthen you and continue healing for Mom. Thanks so much. Yes. And here's a little bit longer comment. Let me see what this is. Thank you for the broadcast and all the news, and everyone for the meeting of the minds. Appreciate meeting with all the truthers and friends still left out there. Continuing prayers. Yeah, thanks, you guys. That's really good. All right, well, good. Let's watch this last little video here of the trailer for Rebel Without a Cause. So enjoy this. Hope you guys have a really great night, and much love to all you guys. And remember to get right with God, because we do not know how much time we have. And I'm speaking from an individual standpoint, but also just from a society standpoint. We've got, the Russians are literally doing nuclear annihilation drills this week. I mean, what in the world is going on? I mean, could you imagine something like that happening in the 80s? I mean, it'd be like the world is ending. And here now it's just like, oh, no big deal. We won't even bother reporting it. The mainstream media will probably barely even cover it, if at all. Very strange, very strange. All right, you guys, have a good one, and we will talk again very soon.